Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Propagandacast with me, your host, ImperialDane, straight from Denmark. And here today we have for you a 1 versus 1 on Angoville. Yes, indeed, it is Angoville. That fun map, or at least I've never been the hugest fan of it, but nonetheless, let us get a look at the opponents. Of course, most of you will be knowing this map. Separated into two halves by this road, there are some rather thick bocars. Also, right in the center, we do have one rather nice crossroads right here, which is always a good spot to mine. Otherwise, resources are shared pretty evenly between the two halves. Strategic cutoff point of high value here, and here. Rather one of the reasons why I dislike this map. And we do have some two victory points in the right side, which is of course also the more important side, and a bit harder to defend in one sense, and in another sense I perhaps wager a bit easier to defend. But again, it's due to all of these bocars, buildings and others that makes it harder for one to defend, because there are so many blind angles for troops to approach in when attacking. Anyways, let's go have a look at our opponent, shall we? In this southern corner we are seeing Fockewolf190. Fockewolf, I believe, was the main aircraft, one of the two main aircraft in the Luftwaffe during the early stages that served as a fighter, the Fockewolf FV190. Granted, I'm not the hugest expert on aerial warfare, so I might be excused there with just a quick Wikipedia look, but the name seemed familiar. And now she is there as the 1st Infantry Division, perhaps a bit of a misnomer there, Fockewolf, but serving for the Americans, eh? Of course, we'll see if he goes for airborne or what. And in the northern corner, it is our mysterious stranger, ImperialDane. Who could this be? We have never seen him before, clearly. But nonetheless, he shall be there fighting for the Reich. 17th SS Panzergrenadier Division Götz von Berlichingen, one of the few SS divisions and one of the few divisions to actually have any armor in the American sector. So, let's get on with this, shall we? This map being a rather nuisance for me. I've never liked it due to these areas, and of course these vital strategic points, which can be so easily harassed, and I do have a lot of troubles dealing with those. Of course, I shall be applying some methods to try and control it. So of course keep note of that. We are of course seeing a barracks start from Fockewolf, who is rank 12 by the way, so am I. Just let's get that over with. I'm not fighting some novice or smurf who's trying to do something highly clever. Of course without the risk. Pioneers moving about. Wehrmacht quarters is up for the glory of the fatherland. Hi plus good luck, or hey, or something, and same to you. A bit of politeness there. Nothing huge, nothing huge. Engineers going to both sides. Pioneers the same, although a bit bolder, dashing straight for the munitions point. And a bit of discussion there. Heard anything about Company Furos 2? To which I reply, not really. And apologies for his writing. And as I say, rumors indicate an August announcement. But that's about it. And Volksgrenadier team number 1 hitting the field. And yes, there might be a new engine for the game, there might be not. Again, I don't know. But in any case, I will be laying down some barbed wire here to sort of prevent the point from being so easily harassed, at least from the front right away, so the Americans just can't run at it. And if they want to do, they have to run straight at the illustrious Volksgrenadiers. In this case, I suppose representing some ersatz personnel for the Waffen-SS. And at least get rid of the hack. Again, there's not that much hacking as some would like to believe. But there we go, first engagement de jour. Volksgrenadiers and riflemen. Volksgrenadiers barely getting all the barbed wire up, but not quite. Still, that keeps the riflemen from storming them. And the riflemen pull away, apparently deciding they do not want to fight there. Volksgrenadiers firing away. Riflemen getting towards the eastern side, and Volksgrenadiers will return to perhaps finish that piece of barbed wire. And we are seeing further pushes in the west with further riflemen. Volksgrenadiers as well, deciding again, I want to just sort of focus in one point to minimize the amount of harassment he can actually pull off, and of course increase my strength. So I focus on the west, since there's the more open one, less blind angles, and I get straight away to setting up some barbed wire here, so he can't actually move in from the north as well, which is of course also something he can do. In that sense, I am able to protect this point and decrease the amount of harassment possible. And we are seeing an engagement here. Volksgrenadiers and Pioneers up against one team of Riflemen. Pioneers trying to get close and open up a bit of fire in there, but we will have to retreat. Might be cut down. Oh dear, lost on the retreat. Second Volksgrenadier team moving in. MG42 also on the way. Other Pioneer team retreated from there since they realized they could not win over in that eastern half. Riflemen coming under quite a bit of fire as Volksgrenadiers are moving in from the north. And there we go, forced to retreat. And these engineers are not looking in a happy situation, and apparently they're deciding to lay down some barbed wire. Keep in mind that while units are doing stuff like laying down barbed wire or mines, they will take more damage and be easier to hit. But there we go, stopping their business and retreating. Or not entirely, apparently they are still standing around, but there we go, finally getting it into their heads that they must retreat, lest they face the wrath of the Volksgrenadier. And further Riflemen hitting the field. So far 3 teams of Riflemen ever rifly, I suppose. Securing this area. MG42 setting up. Pioneers also moving about, in fact laying down a mine there in case some engineers were to cut the wire there. That'd still be a mine which would buy me some time. And a quick note here, units do sort of take paths independently. For example, in this case, for some reason they know that there's barbed wire. Of course you don't. So when you order them to, for example, attack that point, they will take the nearest path. In this case, though, it means he's actually going to move them straight into the line of fire of this MG42. And there you go, getting suppressed, much to my luck. Pioneers trying to lay down mines, but they are quickly stopped. And I'm, of course, forced to react to this, as there's suddenly a large force moving in towards here. Volksgrenadiers also on the move. Engineers cutting a bit of barbed wire right here. And getting flamethrowers. Sneaky, sneaky. And getting engaged by the Volksgrenadiers, trying to probably close in. MG42 covering this area, cutting down some riflemen, or at least stopping them. Engineers taking quite a bit of fire. Volksgrenadiers are in a nice spot. They are out in the open, not in cover, meaning they aren't so easy to hit for the flamethrower. Riflemen getting pinned, and BARs are getting equipped at the same time, but I don't think I spot this. Instead, I will be trying to go straight for the skirmish phase and the Reich. Well, skirmish phase and the Krieg barracks. Riflemen moving in from the south. Might get the drop on the MG42, and for some reason I don't move it back. Instead, I just turn it around, which is a bad move here. MG42 taking quite a bit of fire and won't be able to get out on time. Getting cleared out. Volksgrenadiers firing away, and the Riflemen get away with stealing it. Volksgrenadiers trying to cut down this Rifleman to really cost him some losses, but no, it gets away, and so does the MG42. Quite horrific for me. I've lost an MG42 and he stole it right under my nose. Volksgrenadiers though holding the line, despite probably being a bit nervous now that they might be facing one of their own weapons. Riflemen maintain quite a bit of fire, standing out in the open in the face of all these rifle-equipped Volksgrenadiers, forcing them back with minimal casualties for the Volksgrenadiers, albeit they are all a bit wounded, all a bit worn. Second MG42 getting out, since I want one to replace the lost one. And Krieg barracks also going up. Probably going to see some grenadiers out of that one. Grenadieren. And there we see engineers with flamethrowers marching in larger numbers. Volksgrenadiers continuing to take that point on there, but perhaps might want to pull back and support their other comrades, but no. Volksgrenadiers retreating, and this will of course result in these chaps also retreating, not wanting to join that MG42 crew on the other side. Fresh MG42 though on the move, but rather realizing that this area is currently very hostile and dangerous territory, and of course while it is in my hands, it is not safe. I set up the MG42 at a nice rear position, so in case anyone sneaks in, they will get gunned down, and it is relatively safe until I can at least get some troops in. MG42 though setting up right there. My goodness, getting a drop on my own MG42. Not looking good, and Volksgrenadiers quickly getting reinforced and thrown into the fighting once more. MG42 getting suppressed, losing men. Riflemen sneaking about. Might they hit the mine? No, they do not. And MG42 will have to retreat. Come on. And at the same time, I have chosen a Blitzkrieg as my doctrine, and chosen one ability. Grenades being dropped at my Volksgrenadiers, forcing retreat. My goodness. Quite heavy infantry presence for the Americans, and I'm certainly not looking good. Currently mostly penned into my own base. Rifleman team though is lost a small victory, but that is about it. One team is suppressed. Both teams are in fact suppressed of Volksgrenadieren. But the other one gets up. And we are seeing an assault. Getting ready to lob as many grenades onto this MG42 team as possible. Of course, being aware that they are ignoring suppression. And there we go. Clearing out the MG42 despite some losses. Further grenades being dropped. Where the grenades are from, I do not know. Inquiries will be made, though. Rest assured, my friends, inquiries will be made as to the situation where Volksgrenadiers suddenly have so many grenades. Though it's of course a bit of fun there, but still. Further Volksgrenadiers moving in, quick to recruit the MG42s. Do not want them to fall into the hands of the Americans. That would be awkward and not in my favor. So managed to turn the tide slightly there, grabbing the MG42s back. Tearing down one rifleman team, another getting caught out in the open. Volksgrenadiers with a BAR opening up, but forcing to retreat. MG42 though getting up, Grenadiers as well. These riflemen, oh dear, took lost in the right away, and the rifleman team is lost. MG42 barely survives. Hooray! Sniper moving about, meaning we are seeing a weapon support center out for Fockewolf and his 1st Infantry Division. Panzerschrecks also being equipped. I'm sort of expecting at this moment some sort of nasty bits like, oh, I don't know, an M8 or a Sherman tank. And in that case, I'd rather just in case have some extra anti-tank gases until I can get some packs. Engineers getting fired upon up close. Grenadiers will have to retreat very soon, since that sniper will continue to fire away and be that dastardly nuisance that snipers are. Kampfkraft Center is also up, but I do believe I'll be going for bike so I can hunt down that bugger, the sniper. And we are seeing Fockewolf laying down some mines. Not bad, but he is suffering rather heavily in the infantry department. Only down to 2 infantry teams versus my 4 infantry teams. Hooray for the fatherland in that case. Although it looks like these Volksgrenadiers will be hitting the mine very soon, perhaps. And one is down from sniper fire already. Engineers moving in. Awfully close to the mine. Engineers cut down. Flamethrower tank burst. Grenades being thrown at the Volksgrenadiers. Further sniper losses. And no bikes though. But infantry veterans who won will grant a bit of first aid, and we are seeing movements in the east as well, doing a bit of harassment, but engineers are moving in to put a stop to that. Not good at all. MG42 opening up, Volksgrenadiers retreating. Further MG42 setting up. Nice strong point there, but of course it won't help me against the sniper, sadly. Tragically. Frustratingly. Bit of a word jumble there, and we are seeing straight for the tank depot right there, not waiting about with anything, going straight for any advantage he can. In fact, let us pause and turn things around, and I do seem to have a hiccup. But this is something you're certainly going to see a lot more after the patch. Of course, tanks, since they don't have to fear the pack that much anymore. So they are of course much more happy about using tanks, and of course using lots of riflemen to gain a quick early superiority, which of course they can easily with BARs and grenades, and then just apply the final nail in the coffin with the M4 Sherman tank. Of course, question is, will they be able to get the drop on the 17th SS, or will I be able to overcome this rather devastating early situation? MG42 putting a stop to the rifle harassment there. Grenadiers moving forward. Volksgrenadiers in larger numbers as well, with 2 BARs certainly in the hands of me. My men, oh dear, Volksgrenadiers hitting a mine. Sniper opening up. Wehrmacht forces moving in though, hoping to perhaps hunt down that sniper, put an end to it. And Volksgrenadiers once more finding an hidden cache of grenades and lobbing it at the Americans, but artillery being dropped down in protection. My goodness. And 3 grenadiers are slain in one barrage. My goodness, that was not fortunate for me. Pike though on the move, sunned up, continuing past the artillery barrage, finding the sniper, and Volksgrenadiers awfully close to getting knocked out by some artillery, but they do manage to dodge it. MG42 setting up here, and Pioneers slowly inching forward. Slight minimalization or normalization of the front lane. Riflemen moving out, and of course going straight for that tank depot. Only a bit more fuel and the advantage will be there. Engineers trying to clear out the MG42 with flamethrowers are torn apart, approaching from the wrong angle, I fear. Riflemen pushing through here, opening up on these Volksgrenadiers who are not in a happy position, pulling back towards the wooden fence, which will grant them some light protection against all of this firepower. And the Sherman gets ready as well. No support for these Volksgrenadiers though, and grenades being dropped at them, retreating towards a crater from a shell hole. And MG42 opening up, catching these riflemen, Bike joining in the fun as well, saying I can do it as well. And the mine finally being detonated, not a bad thing, although it does not kill anyone to my relief. Riflemen though moving in for a great flank, heading into the grenadiers and Volksgrenadiers, and artillery being called in rather in the middle of everything, forcing though still a retreat from all my forces. Riflemen though standing out in the open, not entirely sure why they're doing that. Could be lost to the venerable grenadiers, or panzer grenadiers I suppose. Certainly much more veteran than Volksgrenadieren. And the Bike sort of in an advanced position, ready to detect any snipers and of course anything that might come out of the American base. Of course, not entirely sure what to expect. Although this Sherman is of course going to tell me what is to be expected very soon. And that is of course a very large headache, since I only have a Panzerschreck to hold it back, which is the less than ideal situation when it comes to dealing with German tanks. But Sherman moves forwards with a sniper in support, so not entirely bad move I suppose. Stopping up, and I'm of course quite aware now that there's a Sherman, so I'm sort of pulling back, lining up my forces, hoping for the best until I can get a pack. And I was apparently expecting some armor, so the pack arrives. Pioneers getting sniped by the sniper, and Sherman opens up as well, misses. Bit of engagement there. Pioneers trying to harass, but are forced to retreat in the face of these riflemen. Sherman moving forward. Bike will have to get out of there. The Bike is not able to take on Shermans, and the Bike realizes this. Takes a bit of sniper fire as well. MG42 opens up. Does absolutely nothing except provide me a bit of comfort. And another sniper hits the field. Not much infantry though. Only 2 infantry teams, 2 sniper and a Sherman. Fact. Riflemen pushing onwards though. Snipers as well. Assault being used. Bike moving in to stop that sniper and save the eastern flank. Pack, I believe, opening up on this Sherman alongside those Panzerschrecks. Assault grenades storming up, forcing these riflemen to retreat. Sniper and Sherman acting as a rear guard, cutting down Volksgrenadiers wherever they see them. Bike might be lost though, most tragically, and my goodness, the sniper was caught on the wrong side of the enemy lines and gunned down by the most vengeful Grenadiers and Volksgrenadiers, since nobody likes snipers. That is certainly one thing that is true, and if they hadn't shot him, they'd probably have hung him from that tree. Mark my words. Snipers were never liked. And Volksgrenadiers getting ready, although might they have to retreat. No medic station though for the Americans, could have been a great help. Riflemen moving in from the east, still good activity with those riflemen, getting the drop on my Volksgrenadiers. And a grenade once more being lobbed. Volksgrenadiers will have to pull back. One down. And Grenadiers though joining in, ready to support. And once more the sniper moves in, though well aware that his comrade is dead, I would hope. And a Grenadier gets sniped once more. Sniper reporting fire being taken and gets out of there. And the Sherman is ready. Hasn't it been outgunned? I'm not entirely sure though. Bike number 2 moving in, or is it the same? No, it's the same. Trying to get that sniper, but rather realizing it can't deal with all those dastardly riflemen. Further pushes in the east though. Sturmtruppen joining in. Stormtroopers, the elite of the 17th SS. An actual, well, probably this decision would more have been made of. And there we go. Might get a Panzerschreck for them, or a... Not entirely sure what these Volksgrenadiers are doing out in the open. Retreat, there we go. Sherman getting repaired, ready to move forwards once more, and getting a second Sherman, whereas I'm pretty sure I'm getting ready to get myself a Sturm Armory, so I can get a Sturmgeschütz, and hopefully do a bit better against these Shermans out in the open, since I'm rather aware this pack will not be the ultimate weapon in the face of Shermans, in particular with all these riflemen and snipers about as well. Volksgrenadiers moving out in larger numbers. Jeep as well, bike as well. In fact, spotting this rifleman team allowing me to react much better with all these forces, which is of course a nice reason to have a bike and do a bit of reconnaissance, so you can actually spot such flanking attempts at a much greater distance. Riflemen getting torn apart out in the open. Forced retreat right through all of this. Might be lost, in fact. Are they lost, or do they miraculously get through enemy lines? Apparently they do. Though a second rifleman team once more also spotted by the bike. Volksgrenadiers move in to continue the job of dealing with riflemen. These chaps are not looking too good either. Once more the bike joins in for a bit of fun. Grenades being flung at the Volksgrenadiers, forcing some to retreat, but still riflemen are forced to retreat in the face of all this firepower. Sherman number 2 angling for an eastern approach. And nothing else from the American base so far. Stormtroopers hanging about nearby, awfully close to the sniper though. Either side might discover the other one and kill them. But the Sherman continues forward. Sniper opens up. MG42 team gets out of there, and the Stormtroopers hang about. Rather deciding to hang about and evaluate the situation, perhaps strike at some target of opportunity. And artillery being called in, not entirely sure where. Ah, there we go. Artillery being dropped at this munitions point of the high yield kind, forcing my Volksgrenadiers to get out of there, lest they join a very small and spread out grave. Riflemen moving about as usual, hoping to get the drop in this western sector where I am mostly in greater numbers. And we are seeing mines being laid down right here at the crossroads, which I did mention. Not a bad move, in fact a very good move. Of course ensures that if I try to cross over from here to here, in case I decide, oh right, I might have a clever maneuver in mind, then I might hit a mine and then sort of realize that maneuver was ruined instantly. Stug 4 number 1 hitting the field. Sturmgeschütz, Might of the Reich, getting ready to show those Germans what armor is really about. Engineers though getting caught out in the open. Stug opens up and gets an engineer with its very first shot. Hooray, miraculously and all that. Second Sherman, not entirely sure what he's doing. Might be better off joining in. Stormtroopers catching the sniper, getting ready with his Panzercheck. And the Stug 4 joins in as well. Oh, and not entirely sure what it does though. Volksgrenadiers assaulting riflemen with grenades, showering them with explosive gifts. Stug continuing the hunt for the Sherman. Second Sherman moves in. Bike lost. Oh dear. Stug pulls back. Sherman number 2 moves in, and the Stug takes a rear hit. Oh goodness gracious, this could end up very badly for the Stug, in particular if the second Sherman joins the hunt. Riflemen and Stormtroopers acting as a rear guard. Riflemen moving in. Second hit on the Stug. In fact, I do believe we are having the time for the mid game. We are right at the middle, so of course let's analyze the situation as it is. For the Americans, things are looking a bit dire, although they are receiving remains, so they do have a lot of armor, they don't have a lot of infantry and barely any engineers, and some sort of thing might be needed to sort of overcompensate for that, but because I still have a lot of infantry, and while I do have little in terms of anti-armor, I do still have some which can be used probably, and of course with the infantry I can clear out the infantry support for the Shermans. Of course, a medic station for the Americans might help that out. Getting some machine guns for the Shermans might also be of help. Perhaps also upgunning them could be a nice move. Also, we are seeing a veterans upgrade number 1 for the supply yard. Good move there. Let's go have a look at me. What is the situation for the 17th SS Panzer Grenadier Division? How are they looking? Well, so far I have, I believe, 5 infantry teams, 2 support teams, 2 pioneer teams, a pack and a Stug. Greatly outnumbering the American, of course. He can still have the advantage if he chooses his blows, of course, attacking in numbers instead of trying to spread out too much. Of course, 2 Shermans and 2 infantry teams will certainly be able to achieve any local superiority, and of course I can't defend everything, so if either I have to stick all of my forces here and achieve the superiority and then of course let him drain victory points, or I will need to go to the east and of course spread out my forces, thus allowing him to strike with much greater impunity and of course get that superiority we are talking about. In the base, Volksgrenadiers in dire need of reinforcements. I will probably need to get another Stug, and of course for me to win I will need to continue whittling down his forces. I need to sort of perhaps try and get the drop on his Shermans, I need to ensure that I don't lose StuGs or infantry, and generally avoid any major losses, so we end up with a parity in forces again, thus giving him an even greater advantage, because again with 2 Shermans he does stand with quite the advantage against me with only a few Panzerschrecks and a pack. So anyhow, let us return and see what goes on. StuG trying to get out of there, Stormtroopers forced retreat, thus minimizing the amount of anti-tank cover for the StuG. StuG turning around, hoping perhaps to at least get a small advantage for at least temporarily. Rifleman getting killed by the StuG. Sherman moving in, clearing out the Volksgrenadiers covering the StuG. Veterans, you 1 up for the arm, of course, decreasing damage, but won't do much good against all of these Shermans. In fact, 2 Shermans against 1 StuG, not a happy situation. And StuG will have to retreat, managing to penetrate the frontal armor, but the Shermans also managing quite nicely, in fact. And now having to expose the seer this side, this is not good at all. Minesweepers here, because I am of course expecting this area to be mined, so that's of course a nice thing to remember. And StuG 4 not looking happy, taking quite a bit of fire from the Shermans as they move in on the prowl. Second assault gun moving in, and StuG out of control. Terrible loss, which is certainly going to force me to keep my StuG nearby until I can actually gain another one, in which case I might have a slight advantage against these Shermans. Then again I might not, of course, since they do have the mobility advantage. Pioneers forced retreat, instead laying down a mine of their own. And he falls straight for it. Rangers hitting the mine, not losing any men though, much to his relief. Although again I might still recommend a medic station to sort of decrease his attrition, which has been rather heavy. Grenadiers and MG42 getting the drop on these Rangers, dropping 1 and forcing the rest to retreat in the face of all this firepower. Grenadiers with a Panzerschreck and a BAR. Rather devastating. Fresh assault force moving out, ready to push towards the east, and looks like the Shermans are making for an assault right here. Riflemen in the south, Shermans in the east. Might also be some artillery in support to knock out any anti-tank guns which might be hiding there. And there we go, the assault is on. Moving straight into the Panzerschreck and the pack. Grenadiers though taking heavy losses. Will have to retreat if I remember their existence. Apparently not. Grenadier team is lost. Oh dear, Panzerschreck is dropped. Of course the rifleman here will be picking it up. Yes, there we go. No. Marking about. StuG moving in, hoping to get the drop on this Sherman and knock it out, which would certainly be an advantage. Panzerschreck's also hitting, firing up, but absolutely missing, instead hitting the ground. Second Sherman moving in to provide some cover, but the main gun is destroyed, though it looks like it will make its way through the bocage and into safety, leaving behind only this Sherman to cover things. Rear hit from the Panzerschreck. Volksgrenadiers also moving in. StuG 4 not looking too good, but still in a slight advantage against this Sherman with the Panzerschrecks in support. Apparently not managing to penetrating, unfortunately, but the second Sherman also gets out. Rangers moving in, ready to support, and StuG 4 will have to retreat. Come on, StuG. Managing to clear out the Sherman, hooray! By taking some rather heavy shots from the front. Volksgrenadiers and Stormtroopers opening up on the Rangers, who continue to charge in, heedless of apparently all that infantry covering the StuG. Grenades being dropped on the Stormtroopers, killing 1, leaving behind only the Volksgrenadiers to face the Rangers. Or apparently these Volksgrenadiers could also move in. And an attempt at another mine, I think, there, but apparently cleared out. And retreating towards the other Volksgrenadiers, gaining an advantage against these Rangers, who are in fact taking heavy losses and forced to retreat. 3 Rangers down in the face of Volksgrenadier. Riflemen charging in with a Panzerschreck, but not really much armor there. Engagement here as well. Volksgrenadiers forced to retreat. Grenades being dropped. Oh dear, that was the squad leader as his assault rifle was dropped. Unfortunate. And Riflemen charging in. Pioneer team is lost, but the Volksgrenadiers stand strong, and there's the StuG alongside the other one, which is currently getting repaired. And we are seeing another Pioneer team getting ready, while these Stormtroopers are as well. Second Ranger team. Good use of Rangers and Riflemen in general, I might argue. And this Sherman, now upgunned, is in fact going to be quite a nuisance. We'll be able to deal much more ably with the StuG, which will prove to be a bit of a problem for me. And nice flanking maneuver on this MG42. Forcing a retreat. Rangers moving in from the south, forcing my pack to get out of there while this MG42 does its best to cover the entire area. Rangers being caught out in the open again. Remember, suppression modifiers do not apply when you're moving about in the open. So of course Rangers will take more losses against the schwere Maschinengewehr 42. And Volksgrenadiers really opening up on these riflemen, forcing them back for some reason though. Another Ranger team moving in from the east. Things are still looking a bit unsteady, but I have managed to really gain a small advantage now with one Sherman down. Although this one might still prove to be quite lethal with its ungunned variation now. In particular if it gets some veterancy. Rangers moving in, but getting caught out in the open by the StuG. StuG managed another kill for the fatherland. Good job, Helmut. And Volksgrenadiers opening up as well. Stormtroopers joining in the fun too. And Rangers hitting a mine again. Mines can really make a difference. And veterancy 2 now up for the armor, meaning we are seeing a machine gunner there, so good job. Second StuG moving in here to protect as well. Although currently the weaker defenses are in the east, although we do see an MG42 sitting up here which can cover this area. It's not all bad. Right, moving in. Volksgrenadiers pulling back, not running to stand out in the open versus automatic firearms. And we are seeing this Sherman moving in, opening up. Not in fact hitting anything, but we are seeing veterancy 1, meaning increased speed, which can certainly be to its advantage to get in and out of situation. 2 Stormtroopers down. StuG opening up on the Sherman, and the Sherman not firing back quite as of yet. Rifleman moving in with a Panzerschreck though. Second StuG moving in, hoping to get the drop on this Sherman and finally clear out the American armored threat. And Panzerschrecks and bazookas opening up. And StuG number 2 opening up on the Sherman, not looking good. Rifleman getting suppressed. Grenades thrown at the MG42 inside this small structure. StuG suppressing some riflemen. Sherman getting out there most hastily. No sticky bombs from the Americans apparently. Panzerschrecks and bazooka rockets continuing to fly at the StuGs. StuGs in fact taking quite a bit of heavy damage, and the Americans pull out of there, having caused the StuGs quite some grief. And what is this? Artillery being flung. We are indeed seeing an on-map howitzer. The M2 105mm howitzer. The Americans locking on some artillery for a bit closer artillery support. Not a bad move. Although I'm not entirely aware if the Americans had any sort of organic artillery for their divisions. I do know the Germans had with the Leicht and Schwere Infantry Geschütz, which were basically rather much more short-barreled versions, although the Schwere was in fact able to fire off a shell that was about the same as the Hummel. So much more short range, but still directly available for any German infantry division. So if you didn't know that, you do now. Always a bit of fun that, although I suppose I might have been a bit overpowered giving it to the Germans. Instead they got the Nebelwerfer. Not entirely sure though how Nebelwerfers were given out. I do know they were for corps and army support, but I don't think they were as much given out individually to army units, specifically in divisions that is. Pack once more will have to retreat in the face of Rangers and Riflemen moving in. In fact, 2 Ranger teams moving in to the east, using the bocage as cover. Pack opening up, in fact managing to kill 1 Ranger. My goodness. And howitzer turning around. Might want to get a kill this time around, who knows. Sherman getting repaired once more. We are seeing an MG42 moving in, Stormtroopers as well, and artillery firing away. What shall he catch? Nothing, it seems. MG42 setting up right here, covering this area. Volksgrenadiers taking heavy losses, forced retreat, Pack pulling back, and the Sherman once more pushes towards the east. And we are seeing a bit of sandbags being laid down here for cover. Pioneers moving about, preparing StuGs. Rangers charging in with no regard for safety, my goodness. MG42 will have to retreat, I think. Not wanting to get lost. Some casualties for the Rangers though. Stormtroopers sneaking in. Bundle grenade being dropped on the exhausted Rangers. Killing 4 Rangers right away, leaving behind only 4. Who are not going to be looking very good, I think, as the support gunners of the MG42 team are in fact tearing them apart. One ranger team is completely annihilated, leaving behind only one ranger with the slightest of health, forced to run the entire gauntlet. MG42, Panzer Shreks, and all other sorts of bullets whizzing, flying, and screaming. But he manages to survive it all. My goodness, this is quite the heroic ranger. But again, things are looking a bit ill for Fockewolf. He is still hanging on, but things are not looking too good. They're looking a bit slim, in fact. Suffering 2 heavy infantry losses and not having any medic stations to sort of help with it. Whereas I'm rather having much more luck in my unit preservation, as you might notice. Having only lost 1 StuG and 1 grenadier team. In fact, having retained all 3 Volksgrenadier teams. And otherwise all my StuGs. And artillery firing on my base. Oh dear. Losing the Stormtrooper team and the Volksgrenadier team. That was absolutely horrific. And an MG42. That is certainly the lucky break he was looking for. Again, it's not entirely a bad guess to fire right in front of your enemy's front, right in front of the headquarters. You can really net some good kills, as you saw there. That was absolutely horrific. He just took out, well, pretty much half my infantry force and my MG42, leaving me with only 2 StuGs. But I have something to level the playing ground. Yes, the Tiger. Pride of the fatherland. Schwerer Panzer. Achtung, Achtung, kleiner Yankees. Your paper panzers will do you no good. MG42 holding off the infantry, supporting the Sherman assault. Sherman continuing to blast away. Pack opening up. Tigers and StuG moving in. Second Sherman though moving in support. And looks like it might be caught out by the StuG. Tiger moving in as well. Getting sticky bomb though. Oh dear. Not a happy day. Rangers moving in from the south. And all guns open up on the Tiger, realizing this is the main priority. But the StuG moves in, ready to prove a nuisance. Artillery being called in on the Tiger. And what do you do in these cases? Well, you move forwards. When in doubt, attack, advance, assault, and avoid all that artillery being thrown at you. StuGs moving in. Both ones. Lots of machine gun fire right there. Sherman's getting torn apart. They really need to get out of there. Sherman number 1 out of control. Sherman number 2 might also get out of control. There we go. And there we go. Great victory for the fatherland right there. Knocking out 2 Shermans. And let's just return briefly to Fockewolf. And what do? Well, I decide to charge in and push the advantage. Of course, you have to be careful with that. And we did not see a flying part of a pickup truck there. That did not happen. Riflemen charging in. Sticky bombs being dropped on the StuG 4. Riflemen getting suppressed. Heavy losses. Heavy damage on the StuG. Destroyed engine. StuG crushing in. Hoping to crush a bit. Rangers moving in. Not looking good. Might have overestimated my luck there. StuG number 2 taking quite a bit of rear fire. Further Rangers charging in. Tiger opening up, perhaps hoping to clear out that barracks, but I'm rather realizing things might not look too good, particularly if that howitzer decides to open up on my forces. And looks like the StuG will not make it out of there. My apologies, dear StuG, you were a good StuG, but now you must die a hero's death. Tiger continuing to get out of there, opening up. Rangers though out in the open, managed to get out there, but they do take heavy losses in the process. Volksgrenadiers offering a bit of support. StuG turning around. Tiger, Hauptmann, Voss continuing to pull back. Continue to open up with its 88mm gun, killing here and there. And Riflemen pushing through in the east. Volksgrenadiers opening up with an assault. Perhaps to do a bit of damage to all of these Riflemen. And there we go, stunning and doing quite a bit of damage. While engineers do a bit of harassment. I will need some support right here though. These Volksgrenadiers will not be able to win the fight. In with assault grenades. But from the north something comes which might win this fight. Volksgrenadier team though might be lost. Oh dear. But StuG-42 opens up with its 105mm howitzer. And there we go. Riflemen coming under a lot of fire. Blasting apart the garage. And the MG42 on top just blasting away. Killing Riflemen without discrimination. Fockewolf forced back into his base. Howitzer opening up. Where does it hope to hit? Apparently right here, hoping to perhaps find where the Tiger is repairing. Not a bad guess. And an MG42 more lost. This is not good. In fact, he is managed to get some infantry out. This might indeed be where he turns the tide, for all I know. Then again, it probably isn't. Not a lot of time left. Looks like the American forces are hoping to push through the east once more. Not wanting to play with the Tiger. And proper German engineering. Stu-42 the only thing to act as the sort of security at the moment, although stormtroopers are being rushed in, ready to crush any allied efforts beneath their jackboots. Engineers suffering heavy losses to the Stu-42. And Rangers moving in, hoping to flank and surprise the Stu-42. Looks like they will have their luck with it. Although it looks like the Stu-42 was quick to get out of there. Stormtroopers now ready as well to support. Pioneers ready as well. And Stu-42 opening up on the Rangers, only blowing apart the Bocage. Rangers opening up but doing nothing. Grenades, in fact, dropped on the Rangers, doing quite a bit of losses. Sticky bomb on the Stu-42, damaging the engine. Rangers not entirely sure what to do, but apparently decide to go for the Stu-42 nonetheless. And one shot penetrates. I think the other doesn't do much, but the Stu-42 is down to half health. Pioneers moving in to repair. Rangers firing up and getting out of there. And the howitzer opens up in response. Second pack right there. Ready to provide protection in case further Shermans are being launched. Stu-42 taking quite a bit of damage as howitzer shells and bazooka rockets continue to fly at it. But the Rangers themselves are taking quite a bit of damage from this Stu-42 as it itself continues to fire away with its howitzer shells. Americans managed to secure this area, but for how long will they succeed before the Stu-42 pushes in once more and forces away the American infantry? Stu-42 slowly pulling back so he can get a good shot on these riflemen. Stormtroopers moving in, slowly advancing from shell hole to shell hole, or shell crater. Dudes getting a bit of cover, and the riflemen are getting absolutely torn apart. Grenades being dropped as Stormtroopers. Further riflemen advancing in, but forced to retreat in the face of all this firepower. Engineers taking heavy fire. Rangers opening up. Right, we see some counter-artillery fire here. And an M10 tank destroyer.
Forward supply line broken.
Rangers getting into the building for some reason.
Front shift.
Heavy damage on the Stu-42 and heavy fire on the Rangers. Stormtroopers moving towards the southern victory point, and Rangers not looking too healthy right in there. 2 lost and heavy damage, but actually no kills with the bundled grenade. And the M10 moves in. Rangers move in. Everything moves in. One final charge from the American forces, but it is not enough. Victory is for the fatherland as the 17th SS crushes all American resistance in this area. Anyhow, that was certainly exciting. So, what can we learn from this rather interesting match? At least I hope you thought it was interesting. Well, barbed wire can't really make a difference when it comes to, for example, harassment attempts. It'd rather make the harder for Americans to sort of move around my forces, and of course really spell doom for my Volksgrenadiers. Instead, I was able to sort of funnel them where I could get more effect out of my Volksgrenadiers. Other bits, of course, involves mines. Again, good mine use for several times rather put a stop to any American advances. American mines didn't do quite as much, but still they made a difference slightly here and there. Cover is, of course, important. And try not to lose your MG42s like that. Don't just turn them around if the enemy infantry is too close. Either pull them back or fully retreat them. Don't lose them to your enemy, and if you do, well, try to go for blitzkrieg and assault them. Assault being rather good when it comes to clearing out, for example, support weapons and, of course, any large enemy infantry formations. Other bits to, of course, keep note was, of course, the rather interesting usage of armor there, although he was too slow to pull them out once the Tiger appeared and all those StuGs joined in as well. Of course, the same also applies. Don't just throw it at the enemy base. You have to be careful. Otherwise, you might end up taking quite a bit of losses right there. So, I hope you enjoyed this fight. If you did, why not subscribe or tell your friends? And if you didn't, well, why not send in a replay of your own? This is ImperialDane saying, watch your flanks. Cheers.